This episode is sponsored by Squarespace. So this is an electric motorcycle. I know it does not look like an electric bike, but it actually is. It's called the Maeving. I'm gonna tell you guys all about it. So this is the Maeving RM1S. They have a couple different models. They have the RM1. This is kind of the big boy. And to give you a brief history of Maeving, this is a British company. A lot of the electric bike companies that are coming out are all Chinese. This one's actually from England. And the guys who started it, they started this company in 2018. They were pretty fascinated with all these electric bikes that were happening in Asia. And they were like, let's kind of make our own thing. But then they also like the idea of removable batteries. So I'll show you that in a little bit. It's actually really cool. It's a different concept than a lot of these other electric bikes are. But they wanted to build something that was sleek, looked great for motorcycle riders, kind of really had that British classic design, and they really did nail that. And then they wanted to make sure that it was very commuter savvy, commuter friendly, and that anyone could jump on the bike and ride it. And I think they did a really good job with it. When you go on their website, it's not just like a Ford model where, back in the day where just, you can have any color as long as it's black. But they got a lot of cool different color schemes on the website. You can also design it. You can have carbon fiber, not have carbon fiber. You can modify the suspension. So they make it so you can modify the bike, before you buy it. And the model of purchase is, I'm not sure if there's any dealerships, but it's a direct-to-consumer model, which I really think that is the way to go. I think that is the future now. Tesla kind of lined the way with that. I guess before Tesla, anytime you'd buy something out of a magazine, that kind of lined the way. But I think it makes a lot of sense. Now, this bike has a starting price of, I think, $9,000. The smaller model, smaller is in battery size, I think starts out just under 7,000. But when you spec it out, I think the way this one is, it's somewhere around 12, which I think is fairly reasonable. The bike does around 80 miles to the charge, which for the average American commute, I think it's 35 miles, which is pretty long. That's 35 miles both ways. It could do that commute, no problem. But you could also go charge it, go to work, bring your charger, or go to work, pull your batteries out, which I'll show you in a second. Go to work, pull your batteries out, charge them at your desk, and then jam them back in. You can have a pretty long commute. Now, when you're buying something like this, you're buying it, we're so used to buying things online, and you can buy this motorcycle online, which I think is really cool. But it's all about the packaging. It's the same reason why we keep our iPhone boxes for decades, because they feel like there's something, it feels like something of value. And they did a really good job at packaging this bike. It also comes with this cool little, this cool Maeving box. It comes with two keys. You get the black key, and then you got the special red key. Now, I wish I could tell you, the manual comes in here. I lost the manual. I wish I could tell you that the special red key was like what unlocked like special performance. It never start the bike. I watched a video about this, never starts the bike with the red key. This is actually made to reprogram another key, but they give you this cool little box so you can keep it in there. I like that. It's a cool packaging. You're not gonna lose. So the goal was to make a clean, environmentally friendly motorcycle that would help the congestion of big cities and would allow you to commute with them and give this type of styling. A lot of people are making motorcycles. There's a lot of e-bikes out there, but none of them look like this. None of them have really leaned into that classic British cafe racer design. And man, they did a really sharp job. You see they have, it's an add-on. They got this cool little bag on the side. And that really kind of shows what they're trying to do with the bike. Big enough to put a laptop in, big enough to put an iPad in. You'll notice back here, the simplicity of it, there's no chain. There's no chain because it's a big giant hub motor. And that eliminates a lot of the cleaning process. A chain is a wear item. I think chains wear out every, 5,000 to 7,000 miles. They should be replaced at that interval. But with the hub motor, you have no chain. You just have a big old wire. Where's that wire? Somewhere you have a big old wire coming to it, right back here. It's encased. You have a big old wire coming to it to power it. So I really like that they kept it simple. It's just a tubular frame. This is just the solo single seat. There is an option where you can have a passenger seat on there. And then the passenger pegs come out of somewhere. I'm not sure where they come out of. You know, when it comes down to it, I think the coolest thing about this bike, and it's beautiful, it runs really good, I have ridden it. This was built by two guys that had an idea. Not some big giant Fortune 500 company, but just two guys who met in college that had a great idea. Chances are, you probably had that idea that you're like, man, that's $1 million, that's $1 billion idea you've been sitting on for a long time. Maybe it's making your own motorcycle company. Maybe it's selling your own parts. Maybe it's making video content. You have the idea. That's the easy part. The hard part is getting started. That's where our buddies at Squarespace comes in. Now, you're probably thinking, well, Sean, I don't know how to make a website. I don't know how to code. I don't know how to design. All these things. You have a lot of friction that's stopping you from hitting your dreams. Squarespace can help you with all of those things. First, they got this thing called Design Intelligence. It helps you design a clean, professional looking site without actually being a designer. And you don't have to start from scratch. They've got professionally designed templates that they can customize it to make it look good and look like your brand. Also, it's optimized for mobile. And if you're taking payments, which I'm sure you guys want to take payments, Squarespace has Squarespace Payments already built into it that helps your customers buy all the stuff that you want to sell right there, and it's simple and easy. If you've got the idea, they will help you remove all the excuses. Head to squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/Srkcycles to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Now in here, this is where the batteries are. To get to the batteries, you have it on, and then you turn it off, and then it counts down. You have 5 seconds to, you turn it off, countdown. Okay, that opened this. Let me try it again. Countdown. There we go. All right, so if you press the button once, this pops up, the secret trunk. It's got a pretty nice, I got the extra mirror. Not the extra mirror, I got the mirror, I think this mirror. Oh, it's a bar end mirror. I guess they give you two different options. They give you a bar end mirror option, or they give you the mirror up here. So there's the manual. It's got a pretty decent storage space. You could probably put, I don't know, maybe like 12 Chick-fil-A sandwiches, maybe 17 Costco hot dogs. The other thing about it is this is all right here, built in Britain. Now obviously they're sourcing parts from all over the place, but it's put together in Britain, and it doesn't really look like they spared too much expense. Like, this is actual, well, we call it aluminum. They call it aluminum. This is actual aluminum. And they could have cheaped out. They could have made that plastic like everyone else does. But no, they're like, let's make a high quality motorcycle. So this is really cool. This is kind of what makes this bike unique. Right here, you can charge it up. You can plug it in. This is where all the control boxes and all that stuff, that's all hiding in here. But the batteries are right here. So if you want to pull the batteries out, actually, I think I need to pull the batteries out, I need to do the same sequence. So I turn the key on, I turn it off, and then I hold this down. There we go. So they also, not only do they lock in the door, they lock in the batteries. You gotta pop the door, press the button again, pull the battery out, and then you got these guys. And these are 52.8 amp hour batteries. So two 52.8 amp hour batteries, that's gonna give you about 80-mile range, and it's gonna make this bike go about 70 miles an hour, which is highway speeds. So what do these weigh? These weigh 24 pounds, not super heavy. If you have a really tiny wife, probably don't ask her to bring it in, but she could do it. So if you live in the city and you can't charge your bike up where you park, which you can't run an extension cable to your bike, it really makes a lot of sense where you yank the batteries out. Depending on how much you commute, once a week, you gotta pull the batteries out, bring them in, charge them up. Now to get these batteries from 0 to 80% is about 4 hours. From 80% to 100% is another 2.5 hours. So let it charge up overnight, pull them off the plug, jam them back in, you're good to go for another 80 miles. You can press the batteries and see what the charge is too. Let's fire this thing up. You jump on it, turn the key. There's a neutral button. You press the D button for drive. You have to have the brake on, then press drive, and now you're in gear. Let's go take it for a spin. All right, guys, before we take this thing for a spin, let's do the Bible verse, Acts 20:24. But I do not account my life of any value, nor as precious to myself, if only I may finish my course and the ministry that I received from the Lord Jesus, to testify to the gospel of the grace of God. Let's put on the gloves. To neutral, so I press drive. All right, let's do it. So, from the first time I rode this bike, and there's something I talked about earlier about this bike, is it's kind of a motorcycle made for people who don't ride motorcycles. And what I mean by that is just it's very simple. And it's not, the throttle response is very smooth and undangerous. Can't think of a better word than undangerous. You know, where new riders get into a lot of trouble is because they don't have a real steady throttle hand. And what they'll do is they'll just give it too much throttle, and then, it loops it, or it goes the wrong way, and they get scared or something like that. What's nice about this bike is that's not going to happen. You could be a brand new rider, give it all the throttle you possibly want, and nothing bad's going to happen. It'll just accelerate fun. There is different modes too. You've got economy mode, you have mode 1, and then you have mode 3. Or mode 5. They just skip the whole way from 1 to 5. I don't know why. I'm sure there's some story behind it. I will say this, I am not a fan of loud bikes save lives. I don't think it's I think it's a myth. I think it's nonsense. I think it was made by the exhaust companies, the muffler companies, to sell more exhausts, and oh no, this is a safety issue. When in reality, it's just a preference. Case in point, if loud bikes save lives, you can't hear my Goldwing. Goldwing is silent. Like it makes no sound. Almost barely any more sound than this. And when you're on the highway, cruising, and a Goldwing passes you, you didn't hear that Goldwing. It just kind of passed you. So you saw the Goldwing. So, a lot of people will say that, oh, electric bikes are more dangerous because you can't hear them. I'm not buying it. Cars, even, it does make road noise, but even cars are basically silent anyway. If you're used to driving an old 80s truck, and then you jump into a new car, you might sit in the car and think it's not turned on, and then try to turn the key and realize it's turned on, and it might grind the starter a little bit. But I think the electric bikes are fun, and what a lot of people don't realize is that electric bikes have been around for longer than gasoline powered bikes. The electric motor has been around for a long time, and the battery's been around for a long time. So I think there was actually, I need to look into it a little bit more, but I think there were some political reasons why gasoline really took off and became the thing, which is kind of a tragedy, because I think it would have been cool to see what, gasoline engines have evolved so much in the past 100 years, like drastically, and billions and billions, hundreds of billions of dollars have been invested in making the most economical gasoline engine and run farther, more power, all this stuff. And we've only been messing, it seems like they initially, like in the early 1800s, late 1800s, they were doing electric stuff, and then they kind of stopped for about 80 years, and then they kind of got back into it. So it would have been cool to see how it would have progressed in the past, decade. But I like this. I think this is fun. It's not crazy fast. It is more of the purpose of commuting. You got your bag right here. I think that's pretty cool. but it is more of the purpose of commuting, and it's gonna do a great job of that. But also, so I'm trying to think of a good way to describe this. This is a bicycle that's cooler looking and significantly easier to drive. So on hot days, you're not gonna show up to work all gross and disgusting, and you're not wasting money on gas. This is a whole lot cheaper than an electric car, and let's be honest, infinitely cooler. Think about this. Let's say you're gonna show up in like a Chevy Bolt or a Chevy Volt, or you show up on your cool little electric looking motorcycle getting ready to work. This is, come on, think about it, this is much cooler than a small little electric car. Now, depending on what type of car, electric car might be faster. But cool is not always about fast. A lot of times cool is the danger factor. So a lot of people have this vendetta. I'm not really sure what it is, but they don't like, no, I do know what it is. People don't like someone telling them that electric is the future. Oh, electric's the future, man. You know, you're in a couple of years, you're not going to be driving gasoline-powered cars. You're not going to be driving cool gasoline-powered motorcycles. It's all going to be electric. And people reject that. They're like, no. And then because of that, I think they reject all electric vehicles. They think any electric vehicle that's being made is just jamming this down their throat. I don't think that's the case. I think there's room for both in the market. I love to see the cool electric bikes. Oh, I think that's another thing about this. I like seeing cool electric bikes. And, just like motorcycles, different motorcycles have different purposes. Some are made to be fast, some are made to be comfortable, some are made to be comfortable for a long period of time, some are made to be, sporty, and there's absolutely room in the market for a cool looking motorcycle like this. Is a cafe style. Most of my friends who don't ride bikes, who said, man, I'd love to get into a bike, they'll almost all of them say the same thing. I really want a cafe racer. I really want a cafe bike. Like, that's the thing. And getting a bike like this would be significantly easier, significantly safer for them to ride. And they don't have to buy an old $4,000 cafe racer bike that has that needs carb cleaning and needs all this work, and they buy it and they realize that the tank's rusted out. Now I gotta now I gotta clean the tank out. And, that's not, with this, you buy it, twist and go. And I also think that motorcycles like this are the gateway. This is a good gateway bike to, gasoline-powered motorcycles, bigger motorcycles, faster motorcycles, different types of riding. You might jump on this and have a blast. Like, I really love riding motorcycles. It's fun. It's comfortable. And then your buddies are all riding adventure bikes, and you start thinking, man, I want to get an adventure bike. But this is what started it. Going back to my other point about loud pipes save lives, 98% of all fatalities on motorcycles are because of two things: excessive speeding, alcohol. Eliminate those. And I don't think that the other ones are because I didn't see you. A lot of times you hear about people getting rear-ended, the guys at a stoplight and some car just comes and rear-ends them, which is not because they couldn't see you, it's because they weren't looking. Think about it. Cars get rear-ended all the time. No one says, well, it's just, the car was too quiet. I couldn't hear them. That's not why people rear-end people, and it's just more tragic. A car can handle something running in the back of it. A motorcycle really can't. So, case point, check. Well, guys, this wraps up this test drive. I think this bike is super fun. I do love the styling of it. You guys should check it out. If you get a chance to ride one of these, do it, because it's a fun bike, and I think it solves a lot of people's problem of of a bike that they need in the market. All right, guys, remember, it is not what you're riding, but where are you going? We'll see you guys next time.